And hello there, Hornets. Here we are again. It is time to open up our Ready workbook to page 163. And we're going to continue from our lesson 2 on point of view. So we just finished, or you just might have left off on page 162. So if you haven't got your workbook out, this is the time to get it out and open to page 163. So if you need to pause me while you get your stuff out and get situated. And I'm assuming that you are ready to go. So we are continuing with our lesson 16 from our Ready workbook. And the very first thing we're going to do is right at the very top of the page, we're going to write analyzing point of view. That's that POV again, because that's what we are doing. And we want to make sure we keep in mind that analyze means to do what? Break apart. Okay? So we're going to make sure we break down points of view. That is what we're doing. And as much as weird as that looks, it says break. And I'm not even going to try to write a part with this because there's no telling what it'll look like when it's done. So when it comes to analyzing point of view, remember, guys, we look for 4 things. The first thing we look for is our perspective. And that is our first person, second person, and third person point of view. Remember, first person point of view is the character in the story is telling us the story. Second person is the author is telling us the story. And the third person point of view is that a narrator outside the story is telling. We can have a limited narrator, limited third person limited, which means it's following one person, or we can have a third person omniscient, which means we have everybody's thoughts and feelings and emotions in the story. Okay. Now, the second thing you need to know for point of view is we want to look at purpose. What was your author's purpose in writing this? And as I've said before, 99.9 times out of 100, when we're dealing with literature, the purpose is always going to be to entertain. Now, the third thing that we look for is tone. And we have positive, negative, and neutral. And remember, guys, anytime we have a positive tone, we want to come up with a positive word. Anytime we have a negative tone, we want to make sure we come up with negative emotions. And if it's a neutral, we want to make sure we have words or emotions that have more of a neutral feel. Now, all of this, let me throw my congruent sign up again. There's congruent, which means the same but different. So tone is what the author, the word choice the author uses, which is going to help with mood, which is what you feel as the audience. Remember, mood is what you take away from it. There's a reason we call you moody teenagers and not Tony teenagers. So it's what you feel, okay? Now, the next thing that we're going to look at that it's going to tell us after the notes. Now, remember, you have to write all this on the top of your page too. Pause me if you need to and write this down. So I'm assuming you're ready to go on. So we're going to look at our instructions, and our instructions tell us we're going to highlight to continue reading about the visit to the art museum, which lets us know that word continue lets us know that this is something from the previous page, that it's a continuation. And then we also have our other text features on this where we have this in a different color format. It says close reading, and it says how do Blanca's and Ramon's point of view differ about the still life paintings. Underline the words and phrases that show the contrast. We even have a bolded word, another text feature that says underline, that lets us know that it wants us to do something special. Now, it does want us how things contrast means how things are different. All right, so now we're going to make sure we go through and we're going to number our paragraphs because we're picking up from our last one. So we're at paragraph 6, 7, 8, and 9. And I'm going to read the continuation from Ramon and Blanca's trip to the museum. After a few moments, Ramon tried again. Those still life pieces were so remarkable. Did you notice how the artist captured the interplay of light and shadow across even such ordinary objects? Blanca checked her text messages for the billionth time and muttered angrily, Sure, I always pay attention to boring stuff like light and shadow when I'm looking at a bowl of fruit. Well, was there anything at the museum that you enjoyed? Blanca thought carefully for a moment before flashing her wrists. I did enjoy the gift shop because I got this cool watch. much. All right. Now, we still have two very different points of view for our two characters. So we're going to go ahead and circle things that I think that we see. So we're going to start with Ramon that helped me see his point of view. Now I'm circling. You can also underline because their stuff is very different. So Ramon, the very first thing I see is that he says that these pieces were so remarkable. That, guys, remarkable is a positive word meaning something is awesome. He also does this first thing after a few moments that he tries again. Anytime you're going to try something again, that's usually something positive because you're not ready to give up. Unlike his sister, so that's where that contrast thing comes in, how they're different, Blanca mutters angrily. Guys, angrily is something, being angry is a negative emotion. And she's also muttering under her breath. She's not saying it loud and proud. She's kind of keeping it down where nobody else can hear it except her brother. And then also you've got up here at the very first sentence of the 7th paragraph where she checked her messages for the billionth time. That is hyperbole. She's probably not really checking them for the billionth time, but it's extreme exaggeration showing us just how bored she is with being at the museum and looking at the art. Unlike her brother who thinks it's cool and he's actually able to find things that are awesome about it. So now with that, we're going to go to our next slide. So your slide that you've got to look at is dealing with, and that you're going to turn in is dealing with the characters and their perspectives. So your slide that you're going to do to turn in is where for your question. But before you even get to your question, you're going to type a character's name right here and then the tone that their point of view is in. And then for number 2, you're going to type the second character's name and then come down here and you're going to type the tone that their point of view is in. We just went through what each character is and who they are and what their tone is. I want to see if you could figure, we gave you the evidence, we circled it and underlined it. So look back at yours and you can pause the video and get that done. You're also going to pause the video in just a second. So your question says, based on the evidence from the story, which statement best describes Ramon's point of view about his sister? Well, down here in your box, you're going to type, it says the only letter of your answer in this box below, okay? Type only the letter. So you're either going to hit that box and type it A, B, C, or D. Then you're going to complete the show your thinking in the speaker notes box below. So in the speaker notes box underneath this, it says show your thinking, citing evidence from the text, describe how the author contrasts Blanca's point of view with that of her brother. And you're going to type that into the speaker notes box. And you are going to turn this slide in so that way I can see what you're doing and if you know what's going on. All right, so go ahead and let's go ahead and do that. And you can pick back up and watch the other half of this video once you've done that and to check your answer.